A warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra and you're watching another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India's growth story is mirrored in its financial markets led by the National Stock Exchange of India. As the Nifty 50 marks 30 years, it stands as a symbol of resilience, stability, and rising investor confidence. Amid global uncertainties, markets have remained steady, backed by strong regulation from the Securities and Exchange Board of India and growing participation from retail investors, sustaining India's financial momentum.
India's financial journey reflects resilience, steady growth, and rising global confidence with the National Stock Exchange of India at its core. Launched in the mid-1990s, the Nifty 50, NSE's benchmark index, recently completed 30 years, marking a significant milestone in India's market evolution. Tracking 50 of the country's leading companies, it has become a key barometer of market trends and investor sentiment across sectors like banking, IT, and energy. This sustained growth has been underpinned by a robust regulatory framework, with the Securities and Exchanges Board of India ensuring market stability and safeguarding investor interests.
Over the last 3 decades, Nifty has become one of the most widely tracked indicators of India's market. For investors, it's a benchmark. For market participants, it's a reference point. And for many observers of the economy, it's a window into the evolving story of the Indian enterprise.
The Nifty 50 continues to serve as a key benchmark for both domestic and global investors tracking India's growth potential. It also reflects the resilience of the Indian economy, which has remained steady through global disruptions, from financial crisis and the pandemic to ongoing geopolitical tensions impacting markets.
From India point of view, I think we would not get too much of impacted, given the fact that at every time when this kind of issue happens, India has found solutions in whichever way it can be, and the best outcome always come from India as the best time it comes as a winner after every crisis. Therefore, I would assume, I think Indian government, the way they are dealing with the current situations, I think we'll be able to actually manage these things much better.
Against the backdrop of steady growth and remarkable resilience in India's stock market, we spoke with Ashish Kumar Chauhan, Chairman of the National Stock Exchange of India, to decode the factors behind market volatility and understand how India continues to navigate global uncertainties.
Many think of NSE as a place where shares are bought and sold. At a basic level, can you tell me and our viewers, what is it that the NSE actually does?
What you see as transactions, that is buy and sell, is actually a very interesting process, that how a society forms prices. Our job, the main job, is to give you price signaling, but it's achieved via a transaction processing. And transaction processing is one side. On the assets itself, you require a lot of information. So, especially for stocks, so we collect information from the companies and give you on quarterly basis, on material impact basis, on instant and stuff like that. So it's a complex process, but it's basically very important, because today, in 1/3 of India's asset of any type put together is now represented by NSE, $5.2 trillion.
Globally, where would you stand then?
We are now 4th largest after US, China and Japan.
Okay.
We are the 4th largest economy in the world, and we are the 4th largest stock markets also in the world. At the same time, there is an economic theory which says that the poor or low per capita income countries cannot have a well-functioning stock market. Why? Because poor people don't save, and if they save, they don't trust even their brothers. How will they invest in companies sitting 2,000 and 3,000 kilometers away? But India is an exception.
It's overturned that notion.
Right? And so those theories are theories because exception is India. And that's where now 12.7 crore Indians, unique Indians, we have 25 crore accounts, 12.7 crore Indians put their hard-earned money into stocks of various types.
Amazing. On that optimistic note, thank you so much, Mr. Chauhan, for spending time with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pakistan's recent airstrikes inside Afghanistan have now come under sharp global scrutiny, as the issue was raised as the 61st session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. Activists and community leaders warned that these strikes on civilian areas are exacerbating Afghanistan's already severe humanitarian crisis. pushing millions closer to the brink amid growing instability.
At the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, the humanitarian fallout of Pakistan's cross-border airstrikes in Afghanistan took center stage. The strikes, carried out in eastern Afghan regions, have been widely reported to have caused civilian casualties, including women and children, triggering anger among Afghan communities and rights groups. This comes at a time when Afghanistan is already facing economic collapse, food insecurity, and near total dependence on humanitarian aid, making any military escalation even more devastating.
These days, we saw that Pakistan bombarded Afghanistan. From my opinion, it's not good, and also all of the people that they don't work in government, they agree with me that it's not good because we are brothers and sisters, and also we are all of us, we are Muslims, especially in these important days that we have Eid in our culture, in our religion. The Pakistan bombarded Afghanistan with that. It know Afghanistan has so many problems in this moment.
Afghanistan today remains one of the world's worst humanitarian disasters. Over 28 million people require urgent assistance, with widespread hunger, collapsing healthcare infrastructure, and restrictions on women further crippling recovery efforts. Pakistan's airstrikes have not only resulted in civilian deaths but have also triggered fresh displacement in already fragile border regions, deepening misery for communities that have endured decades of war. The developments raised serious concerns at the UNHRC, where speakers warned that targeting areas with civilian presence could amount to violations of international humanitarian law.
तकरीबन 45-50 सालों से ये मुश्किल अफगानिस्तान में आ रहा है। इस तरह नहीं है कि सिर्फ तालिबान अफगानिस्तान में आए और ये मुश्किलात बढ़ गई। इससे भी पहले में मुश्किलात बहुत ज़्यादा थे। इसकी भी पाकिस्तान में हाथ होती है, क्योंकि पहले से पहले तकरीबन 1980 भी पहले से अफगानिस्तान से और पाकिस्तान में ये मिलजुल हो सकते थे।
Speakers at the Geneva session pointed to a broader pattern, arguing that Pakistan's security policies have long contributed to instability across the region. Under the pretext of counter-terror operations, cross-border strikes have repeatedly undermined Afghan sovereignty while endangering civilian lives. Activists also highlighted Pakistan's internal record, citing military crackdowns in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan as part of a wider strategy that disproportionately impacts civilians. The concern now is clear. Islamabad's actions risk exporting instability into Afghanistan at a time when the country can least afford it.
We have organized this conference on the sidelines of the United Nations Human Rights Council's 61st session, and here people from different walks of life, Iranians, Kashmiris, Sindhis and Baloch are participating in this conference and will raise the issue of girls' education. And besides that, we will discuss also, the deteriorating, law and order situation and the military crackdown of Pakistan on the innocent civilians in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and even in Afghanistan, where, hospitals were attacked by the Pakistani military in violation of international law.
The discussions at the United Nations Human Rights Council underscored a growing global consensus. Afghanistan's crisis is no longer just internal, but increasingly shaped by external military actions. With Pakistan's airstrikes intensifying humanitarian distress, calls for international accountability are growing louder. Without urgent intervention, Afghanistan risks sinking deeper into a cycle of conflict and suffering where civilians continue to pay the highest price.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Japan will begin releasing oil from joint reserves held with Middle Eastern countries by the end of March, Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi said. This move comes after the Iran war disrupted oil and gas shipments from the region. Japan has already started releasing 15 days worth of oil from private companies and will also release out 1 month's supply from its national reserves starting March 26. As part of a global effort led by the International Energy Agency, Japan plans to release nearly 80 million barrels of oil, mostly crude. Additionally, Japan has access to around 13 million barrels of oil stored in the country by Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Kuwait, which can be used during emergencies.
Hundreds of Muslim devotees gathered at the mosque in Nepal to offer special prayers on Eid al-Fitr, marking the end of Ramadan. The festival was celebrated with warmth as people exchanged greetings like Eid Mubarak and shared traditional sweet dishes. Emphasizing values of patience, discipline, and self-control, Eid also highlights charity and compassion towards the needy. Collective prayers and iftar gatherings strengthen unity and peaceful coexistence within communities. Rooted in history, the festival continues to inspire humanity, generosity, and a strong sense of community across the world.
Kenya Airways said demand for its flights has increased sharply due to disruptions caused by the Middle East war. The airline seat occupancy or load factor has risen from about 70% in January to nearly 100% now. Acting CEO George Kamal said some long-distance flights are more than 90% full. Most of the extra passengers are coming from Europe, the United States, and Asia. He added that this rise in demand is unusual because it is normally a low travel season for the airline. Kenya Airways currently has enough jet fuel for about 56 days. However, the airline is now looking to secure more fuel supplies from India to meet the growing demand and ensure smooth operations.
Bangladesh is facing a deepening fuel crisis as global supply disruptions triggered by the Iran conflict begin to hit home. With fuel stations shutting down across Dhaka and long queues stretching for hours, the crisis exposing the country's heavy dependence on ports. As instability grows, India has stepped in reviewing Dhaka's request for urgent diesel supplies amid mounting regional pressure.
A full-blown fuel crisis is unfolding in Bangladesh's capital, Dhaka. Most fuel stations have remained shut due to an acute shortage of octane and diesel. The crisis comes at a time when Bangladesh is already grappling with economic stress, inflation, and growing public frustration, further intensifying instability in the country. Bangladesh depends on imports for nearly 95% of its energy needs, making it extremely vulnerable to global disruptions. The ongoing conflict in West Asia, particularly involving Iran, has rattled energy markets, driving up prices and choking supply routes. The situation has worsened as shipments fail to arrive despite advance orders, exposing serious gaps in supply chain management.
আমরা শুধু অকটেন এবং ডিজেল সরবরাহ করি না সাপ্লাই আছে মানে আমাদের নাই রিজার্ভে নাই মানে ডিপো থেকে মাল আসলে তারপর আমরা বিক্রি ডিপোতে পি অর্ডার করে দিচ্ছি সকালে কদিন ব্যাংক বন্ধ ছিল পি অর্ডার করতে পারিনি আজকে ব্যাংক খুলছে আমরা পি অর্ডার করে পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছি এখন গাড়ি আসলে আমরা তেল আনলোড করে তারপর বিক্রি শুরু করব
Fuel station operators across Dhaka say they are unable to meet demand even after placing advance orders. Many outlets have suspended operations entirely, while others struggle to manage growing crowds and chaos. The shortage has triggered panic among consumers, with long queues becoming a common sight across the capital. The crisis is directly linked to escalating tensions in the Middle East. The Iran conflict has disrupted nearly a fifth of global crude and natural gas supplies, particularly through the strategically critical Strait of Hormuz. With shipping routes under threat and energy infrastructure targeted, countries like Bangladesh, heavily reliant on imports, are bearing the brunt.
মোটামুটি কাজ চলে যাবে কিন্তু যেভাবে করে আসলে দীর্ঘ লাইন করে আসলে দাঁড়াতে হয় হ্যাঁ এটার জন্য তো মিনিমাম আধা ঘন্টা সময় চলে যাচ্ছে হ্যাঁ আবার যদি এটা তেল শেষ হয়ে যায় আবার তো সেটা দাঁড়াতে হবে আর কি লাইনে দাঁড়াতে হবে
Amid the crisis, Bangladesh has turned to India for support. New Delhi has confirmed receiving a request from Dhaka for diesel supplies, highlighting India's growing role as a regional energy stabilizer. India has been a consistent energy partner to Bangladesh, supplying diesel through multiple channels, including the India-Bangladesh Friendship Pipeline.
We have received a request from the government of Bangladesh for supply of diesel, which is being examined. Given our people-centric and development-oriented approach to relations with Bangladesh, we have been supplying diesel from Numaligarh refinery since 2007 through various modes, which includes waterways, rail, and later through the India-Bangladesh Friendship Pipeline. A sale purchase agreement was signed in October 2017 between Numaligarh Refinery and Bangladesh Petroleum Corporation for supply of high-speed diesel on mutually agreed terms. It bears mention that whilst diesel exports to Bangladesh have largely continued since 2017, India's refining capacity, our own requirements and diesel availability will be factored in while taking decisions.
India is now carefully evaluating its own energy needs before committing additional supplies not just to Bangladesh but also to other regional partners like Sri Lanka and the Maldives. The move underscores India's strategic balancing act, supporting its neighbors while safeguarding domestic energy security. As the West Asia conflict continues to disrupt global energy flows, Bangladesh's fuel crisis serves as a stark reminder of the risk of import dependence. With rising instability and mounting pressure on the government, the coming days will test Dhaka's ability to manage the crisis, while all eyes remain on whether regional cooperation led by India can help ease the burden.
India's classical dance is a living heritage deeply rooted in tradition and culture. Bharatnatyam, originating in Tamil Nadu's ancient temples, expresses divine stories through graceful movements, while Kathak from North India captivates with rhythm and intricate footwork. Today, young artists are embracing these forms with renewed passion, keeping them relevant in modern times. Kathak artist Maya Kulshrestha exemplifies the spirit by blending tradition with inclusivity, inspiring the next generation to preserve and promote India's rich artistic legacy. It is early morning in Chennai. Kavya stands before the mirror preparing for the day. After sharing a quiet moment with her family and glancing at her hard-earned certificates, she begins her practice. As she ties the ankle bells, her mind fills with rhythms, postures and the pursuit of excellence in Bharatnatyam. For Kavya and countless girls like her, Bharatnatyam is more than a dance. It's a language of emotion, a lesson in discipline, and a deep connection to their roots. Across India, young dancers are embracing this classical art form and shaping their own identities.
I started learning Bharatanatyam when I was 5 years old. Still learning, and I think there is no end to learn from this art form. There are more things to explore. Not only dance, I've learned how to be disciplined, how to be respectful, how to be polite.
Today's younger generation, especially girls, are embracing Bharatnatyam not just as a tradition but as a way of life. In this classical dance, every movement has meaning. Powerful footwork, steady postures, expressive hand gestures, and subtle facial expressions come together in perfect harmony. Regular practice builds strength, flexibility, and balance, while mastering intricate rhythms sharpens focus, patience, and self-discipline. This is why Bharatnatyam continues to inspire so many young dancers in Tamil Nadu and other parts of India.
Bharatanatyam is a classical Indian dance. It is a beautiful and powerful arts form. Children who learn Bharatanatyam get more benefits: good health, good discipline, better concentration, good memories, and different way of talking, and cultural knowledge, and stress free. Those for everyone should learn Bharatanatyam.
Amid changing lifestyles, Bharatanatyam reconnects youngsters with their cultural roots. Blending tradition with modernity, it builds discipline, confidence, and creative expression, proving that this classical dance is not just heritage of the past but a powerful voice of the future. Maya Kulshrestha, a professional Kathak artist from New Delhi. Trained in the rich legacy of Kathak, she has devoted decades to mastering this classical form. Known for her technical finesse and powerful storytelling, Maya goes beyond performance through the Anjana Welfare Society, an inclusive platform where she trains young learners and differently abled individuals alike. Her dedication to Kathak has earned her several awards reflecting both artistic excellence and a lasting impact on the cultural landscape.
तो ऐसे ही आज भी हमारी सोसाइटी में बहुत सारी चीज़ें महिलाएं देखती हैं, झेलती हैं. अगर उनके पास आर्ट है तो दे कैन डिपिक्ट देयर स्टोरी. उनके अंदर वो हौसला आएगा कि वो अपनी बात कह सकती हैं. कई बार हम शब्दों से नहीं कह पाते हैं तो हमें इमोशंस हम इमोशनली स्ट्रांग हो जाते हैं. वो फेज़ आता है तो उसमें हमें डिप्रेशन भी नहीं मिलता है. आपको अपनी बात कहने के सलीके आ जाते हैं.
Kathak, rooted in storytelling, often narrates the divine tales of Radha and Krishna, where aesthetic love becomes a powerful emotional language connecting performer and audience. Mihira, a recent dance theatre production by Maya, portrayed the devotion of Mirabai while inspiring youth to reconnect with India's cultural heritage.
सिर्फ कथक नहीं, हर ही फॉर्म, जैसे भरतनाट्यम है, भरतनाट्यम में साउथ ट्रेडिशन ज़्यादा चलता है तो उसमें शिव जी के बारे में ज़्यादा स्टोरी टेलिंग प्रस्तुत होता है, लीला प्रस्तुत करते हैं. हमारे कथक में कृष्ण और राधा की लीलाओं के बारे में ज़्यादा चरित्रण चलता है. तो हर एक क्लासिकल फॉर्म जो है इट इज़ वेरी मीनिंगफुल और वो अपने ही वे में कुछ कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट करती है.
In a rapidly changing world, classical dances like Bharatanatyam and Kathak bridge the past and the future. At their heart stands the youth, ensuring that India's rich artistic heritage not only survives but thrives through their journey, creativity, and commitment. Carried forward by a new generation, India's classical dance traditions continue to evolve, rooted in heritage, yet resonating powerfully with the future. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.